call of the Hogs can be heard all the way to San Francisco.
You're listening to Pod at the Palace with Curtis Wilkerson on Inside Arkansas.
Good morning, everybody. Happy Tuesday, and welcome back to the Pod at the Palace. I'm your host, Curtis Wilkerson with Inside Arkansas. Shout out to the coffee club. I see y'all out there. Got something cooking for you, by the way. I appreciate everybody hanging out with us today, making us a part of your day at some point. Doesn't have to be at 5 o'clock in the morning. We think it's cool when it is. How's everybody doing? You guys getting your Christmas shopping done yet? I haven't started, naturally. Are you bored yet? I mean, Arkansas basketball off until Saturday. We've got, 5 more days before we get to see the Razorbacks on the hardwood again. By the way, heads up, if you are going to Dallas or you're going to be in Dallas for the game Saturday, drop by Chop Sports Victory Bar afterwards. Chop Sports Victory Bar. We will be there for the Pod at the Palace post-game show, hopefully celebrating a Razorback win. It's down there by the American Airlines Center, so come hang out with us for sure. Also, before we get started here, real quick, several of you have reached out for a Slim Jim update, which I really do appreciate. That makes me feel good. Makes him feel good. We are a little bit between a rock and a hard place with the Slim man. Long story short, he did what dogs do, and he got a hold of something that he wasn't supposed to when I was changing the baby and taking care of him the other day. Swallowed some metal. Not ideal. It hasn't passed yet. So normally, they would just go in and take it out at this point, but he's so old that, he's got so much going on. It's a little bit too risky to do something like that. So we've been trying to figure out what our options are. And, we kind of have to decide if we wait it out and see if it does pass. They're fairly optimistic that it's small enough to where it can and it will, but it's not a guarantee. And if it doesn't, it gets stuck in there. That's a big problem. We also have the option of potentially getting a scope done, which is like non-invasive and, still comes with some risk with the anesthesia and everything because he's so old. But so we're actually going to learn a lot more about that. We got to follow up Tuesday evening, and we'll be able to kind of make a decision that, whatever's best for him there. So I appreciate everybody who's been asking about him. That's cool. Everybody knows who my dog is, but he is, man. He's kind of the epitome of man's best friend, and he's doing okay right now. Still hungry, still happy, still long. He's a wiener dog for those who don't know. So we'll keep you guys posted, but he's hanging in there. We're all over the place today. We really are. We got some AP poll reaction, of course. Some where are they now talk, which I think will surprise some of you with, former Razorbacks who are performing or not performing, in their next stops. And I guess this is all trending now, so we'll weigh in on it. Who's winning the divorce between John Calipari and Kentucky? It's not the only thing Cal's going viral for nowadays, but we're also going to take a look around the SEC where Arkansas stacks up statistically and play a little buy or sell, and if it's going to stay that way once we get into the meet of conference schedule, are we picking up or putting down what Arkansas has got going on from a stats standpoint. So should be a fun show today. And then as we move forward through the rest of the week, we'll start talking more and more about this matchup with Texas Tech. Also, by the way, I do want to take a few minutes at the very end of the show because I know some people asked about dude, you're always talking about Arkansas's resume and these different metrics and what the heck is KPI versus BPI. And I'm going to take a few minutes at the end of the show and try to explain all that so it makes a little bit more sense because we're going to be talking about it a ton moving forward through the rest of the season up until Selection Sunday. Hey, today's episode of the Pod at the Palace is brought to you by our friends over at Drain Masters of Arkansas. Drain Masters are officially licensed in plumbing and drain cleaning while serving the River Valley, Northwest Arkansas, Oklahoma, and beyond. They're ready to handle all plumbing and drain cleaning needs with professional, reliable service. To request a service, give them a call today at 479-646-5585. That's 479-646-5585. Or scan the QR code on your screen. Be sure to tell them that Inside Arkansas sent you and get 10% off all their services. Anything and everything plumbing related, no job is too big or too small. It's Drain Masters of Arkansas. They've got you covered. Would you guys say that it's poetic that Monday morning we did a full segment on whether or not Darius Acuff might have SEC Freshman of the Year locked up already, and then by noon he's been named the SEC Freshman of the Week? You love to see it. Well deserved. I mean, he was awesome. What do you have? 18 assists to 5 turnovers last week. Averaged, I don't know, 19 points per game or whatever it was. I mean, he was really good. Really good. Well deserved. I'm happy for A-Cup, and there's going to be more of those to come. So stay tuned for all that. AP poll. It's out. What did the haters have to say about Arkansas this week? Nothing. There are none. It's kind of crazy. Folks have shifted their hate towards Mark Pope. What a time to be alive, man. What a world we live in where that's the case. The narratives are starting to shift a little bit. Not going to lie, it makes me nervous. Make you nervous? We're not used to folks showing Arkansas love. We're darn sure not used to folks showing John Calipari love. What the heck's going on here? In a way, I like it, but in a way, it feels kind of dirty, you know? I'm going to take it for now, though. Folks, your Arkansas Razorbacks were the biggest risers in the country in the AP poll. Up 8 spots, Arkansas is from number 25 to 17. That's big time. We said yesterday, thought they get in the top 20, potentially to go higher if, you know, folks who hadn't really watched them were starting to pay attention. It might take a little bit more time to try to decide where they want to place the Razorbacks, and that's exactly what happened. 17th, man. That's it's not a bad place to be. You're almost back to where you were to start the year. Here's the thing. Don't make fools out of everyone showing you love if you want it to stay that way, right? This is a rare occurrence. It's like a blue moon or a comet, whatever. You know, enjoy it while it lasts. It's not always going to be a thing. Razorback fans, you know this, right? But it's kind of cool right now. This sets up a matchup. Number 17 Arkansas versus number 16 Texas Tech in Dallas on Saturday. Major showdown. What a good game this is going to be. It's an awesome matchup. This is another one of those where I feel like it's going to have great, like a great watchability between, you know, like Christian Anderson and JT Toppin are two guys who could be All-Americans. Arkansas's got their dynamic freshmen. Obviously, they've got TB and, you know, Carter. There's a lot of star power that's going to be out there. There's history between these two teams. There's recent history between these two teams. If you think about the tournament last year, great regional matchup. Lubbock and Fayetteville meeting in Dallas. This is a good game. The only thing that sucks about it, it's an 11 a.m. tip. So get out of bed, get your breakfast, get there, and then come hang out with us for the post game after. But I'm pumped about it. Rest of the AP poll, Alabama, the highest ranked SEC school, there at number 12. No SEC teams in the top 10 still. If Arkansas beats Tech, I don't know that would get them there. But if they beat Tech and Houston, I will go ahead and outright guarantee you that Arkansas will be ranked in the top 10. Go ahead and do that. And let me test my theory, please. But yeah, Bama at 12, Vandy, who's one of 8 undefeated teams left in the country, at 15, Arkansas at 17, Florida still in there at 18, which I guess I'm okay with. I mean, they were up there pretty high. They lost a 1-possession game at Duke, so, you know, Tennessee dropped to 20, so Arkansas did pass them after all. That's something we discussed yesterday. They were at 13, but you felt like after taking 2 L's the way they did, they would drop a decent amount. So there they are. Auburn stayed exactly where they were at 21. That's it. That's it for the SEC. Now, somehow Kentucky is still receiving votes, and I just have no idea who is. I need to go look because they post the votes. You can go see how everyone voted. Who the hell is voting Kentucky in their top 25 right now? Maybe you feel like they will be at the end of the year. That's a different conversation. They very well may be. But right now, was it the Valpo win that won you over? I don't know how you can do that. It's negligence by voters. Like, oh, Kentucky, they must be okay. I don't know. Crazy. LSU also receiving votes, by the way, despite getting just throttled by Texas Tech. It's crazy. But since we're on the rankings theme, let's go ahead and get into this little game of buy or sell on Arkansas statistical rankings in the SEC. When we have a little break between games like this, I like to do things like that. Let's just see where Arkansas stands, you know, how they're shaking out relative to their peers in the conference, and do we feel like this is going to be a thing once we get into the meat of league play? It actually might like too high or too low might be a better way to go about it than buy or sell. But what I want to challenge you guys to do as you're listening here, try to guess where Arkansas ranks in the SEC in some of these areas before I rattle them off. Because I got to be honest with you, I was surprised, but in both good and bad ways with some of these. So it's kind of interesting. Scoring offense. Let's start there. How do you feel about that? In ways, they've scored a lot of points. They had a couple games where they were down a little bit, figured it out against Louisville. Arkansas is 7th in the SEC, 87.6 points per game. So how about this? I am selling that Arkansas will finish 7th. I think that's too low. This team's got firepower, and they haven't put it all together offensively yet. Think about it for a second. Your freshmen are still figuring it out. You don't even have Carter and DJ rolling yet. Malik Ewins just started playing. Like, there's a lot of reason to think this team is going to get better offensively. I also think that they're going to score more than LSU and Texas for sure, both of whom are ahead of Arkansas right now, largely because of the schedules that they played. So I think they'll go up in that ranking by default. But I also don't think Arkansas is going to average nearly 88 points per game by the end of the year. If they do, that would be awesome. But, remember, there's not going to be any more bye games to run it up or whatever. After a couple weeks, these are all going to be dogfights that you're in. The same goes for other teams, right? Like, they've been feasting on hot dogs, and now they got to play the hamburgers. So there's going to be some give or take there. Arkansas does play fast, which lends itself to more points. They're shooting it better this year, which lends itself to more points. 87.6 is a lot. Maybe in the 83, 84 range. We'll see. It depends on how much they're able to control tempo. Scoring defense. Arkansas also 7th. So 71 points per game allowed. Once again, I think this is too low for their final landing spot. Same thing as offense. Like, Arkansas isn't even playing its best defense yet. Although you can see over the course of the last week, really even dating back to that Duke game, they're trending in the right direction defensively. And their points per game allowed 71. Maybe it's a little bit higher because they play. It kind of lends itself to that. Same as offense. You might score more points because you play faster. You have more possessions. Same thing with defense. Because you usually play at a faster pace, there's going to be more possessions. You might score more and give up a little more. So there's something to be said for that. But again, some of the teams ahead of them right now, like South Carolina, LSU, they're going to get exposed in a hurry come SEC play. So I could see there's a world where Arkansas could finish top 5 in both of these categories, and I don't think it would be stunning by any means. Field goal percentage, 9th. Arkansas's 9th, 47.4%. I got to be honest with you, folks. I think this might wind up being just about right. I would love to go through every one of these and be like, it's too low. They're going to get better. I don't know. I will say this. I think the more Malik Ewin gets going, the better this can look. But as fun as this Arkansas team is, the truth is you have a couple freshman guards who have at times been more quantity over quality in the shot department, right? They lend themselves to some inefficiency at times. DJ, another guy, lends himself to inefficiency in there at times. So, and those are going to be probably your 3 leading shot takers this season. So I think there's something to be said for that. The field goal percentage might be a little bit lower, but you accept the dynamic nature of the way that they play. Now, field goal percentage defense for Arkansas, currently 6th in the SEC. They're holding teams under 40% shooting, which is really, really good. And I imagine, I don't know this for sure, but I would imagine that better teams will have a little bit more success, but that's going to be across the board in the league. I could see Arkansas being in the top half of this conference for sure. They're just so long. They're so athletic. I feel like they've done a much better job lately of contesting everything. They had a run of games there against those bye games, those mid-major teams where I felt like they were giving up too many open looks, but they're starting to figure some things out. Their first shot defense has been awesome. The more they limit teams on the offensive glass, the lower that percentage is going to stay. So that's going to be an important part of it for Arkansas. My favorite stat right now for the Razorbacks is that how about this? I kind of gave it away a little bit. Where do you think Arkansas stands in terms of 3-point percentage? They're fourth at 35.5% from three. I mean, goodness gracious. Arkansas has been at the bottom of the league for years now from three. So this is very refreshing. I love it, man. Sign me up for this every year. They're not just firing away out there, but competent shooting changes a lot. So, I look at it, I think about it like player to player. On one hand, I expect a little regression from Acuff. It's going to shoot 45% from three all year. No way, right? Maybe. It'd be cool if he did, but I'm not expecting that to hold up. I'm not saying he'll drop off of a cliff, but then I also think Leak is going to be more accurate as we move forward. So maybe that balances out. I don't think Carter Knox is going to shoot 50% from three all season, but I also think guys like Trevin and DJ will be a little bit better, and it kind of balances itself out. So I'm buying this. I think it's just about right where this team is going to end up when it's all said and done. And that's huge. That is huge. And what's also notable, Arkansas is shooting a higher percentage this year, and they're not just chucking a bunch of shots up there and being inefficient, right? Because it'd be one thing if they were, shooting at 31%, but they were shooting 35 threes a game. That's not really what you want. Arkansas is 127th out of 365 teams in makes per game, 8.7 makes per game. And you might look at that and go, congratulations, I guess, but it's about in the top third of the country. And again, Arkansas has been sub 250 every year here recently. So this is a big deal. Like, it's nothing to throw a parade about, but it's just significantly better. And it takes pressure off of you in other ways. It adds to your spacing. You have to be respected. And also, they have proven capable of hitting double-digit triples on any given night. Like, if there's a night where the defense is slipping, or if you're in a shootout with a great offense or something, do you feel like Arkansas is automatically out of it because they can't keep up, that they don't have enough firepower? I don't. I think they've got plenty. So I like it. I like what we're seeing from Arkansas from three right now. Somehow, this is one of the surprises for me. After some of the games that we've witnessed, Arkansas is third in the SEC in 3-point defense. How? How teams are only shooting? They're 27.7% from three against Arkansas. That's baffling to me. I will gladly take it. Honestly, Arkansas has had a lot of really good games on that front. Because you think about what Southern hit a dozen on them, Samford hit double-digit threes on them, Winthrop hit 15 on them. I think we think about those games and we go, good Lord, man. These dudes can't guard anybody from behind the arc. But then UCA was 441, Fresno State was 426. But think about your big three games. They held down Michigan State, Duke, and Louisville, held them all under their average in makes and percentage. It's their three best opponents so far. So maybe that's a good barometer, a good omen as we look forward to what this can be moving forward. If Arkansas, for example, on Saturday, if they can keep Christian Anderson from hitting 6 threes on them, okay, I really start to buy into this even more. Maybe it's a little bit too high for now. Is Arkansas going to have a top 3-point defense in the SEC? I don't know. Maybe not. I do think it's going to be a solid 3-point defense when all is said and done. They're contesting well. They're limiting quality looks and rhythm looks. And then, with teams who have a stretch guy or they play small, you've got a Trevin Brazil who can stand in the lane and still block a three. So you love to see it. Here's one for you folks. Free throw percentage. Arkansas leads the SEC at 78.3% from the line. I'm going to take the easy way out here and say they won't finish the season at the top of the SEC, but is this not a sight to see? A sight for sore eyes after what we witnessed in exhibition play? That was one of the things post-exhibition that we listed as a legitimate concern. There was like fake concerns, things we're not really worried about, and then things where we were like, this might be an issue. And I'm pretty sure I said free throws might be an issue. But credit to them, man. The guards have been great. All of them. But the biggest thing for me, Trevin Brazile and Malik Ewan being vastly, vastly improved from their career norms. Like, I want both of those guys in the game at crunch time. And I got to be honest with you, I didn't think that was going to be the case coming into the year. Guys, even Nick Pringle, who's like 56% or something for his career, is up to 72%. It's great stuff. Great stuff. Now the bad part. Arkansas is 15th in offensive rebounding, 10.9 per game, and 13th in rebound margin right now. If you had to pick a problem area for the Razorbacks, this is probably where you would look, right? Rebounding. Still surprising to me because I thought that was going to be a strength coming into the year. It's not. Now, I'm going to say that this is too low. I think it's going to improve. Nothing crazy, but I think it's going to get better. Malik Ewan simply playing more is going to increase those offensive rebound numbers. He's one of the best offensive rebounders in the country. And we've started to see that now over the last few games. He will help Arkansas from that standpoint. I trust Trevin Brazile to be more and more impactful on the offensive glass as we get into league play. We've seen him do it. So I believe in that. I believe in Billy and Carter from the wings on the offensive glass. I think they're going to be okay there. Not great, but okay. And the margin, that should help improve there as well. Arkansas is not going to be a great rebounding team, but also some of the other teams are going to come back down to earth big time in SEC play that are ahead of them. I'll say Arkansas finishes around 10th in both categories when it all shakes out. Not great, but it's certainly better than where you are, which is near the bottom in both categories right now. Turnovers per game, offense, I'm talking about here. Shout out to the Hogs, man. Second in the league, just 9.4 turnovers per game. Vanderbilt leads the league in fewest turnovers at 9.3. So you're right there. And listen, I imagine this will wind up over 10 by the end of the year. Defense is going to be better, whatever. But Arkansas does a great job taking care of the basketball. Hell, if they would just stop stepping out of bounds for no reason, they would be leading the league right now. But this is a good ball handling team. They've got multiple options. What I don't like on the surface is the turnovers forced, the flip side of it. Just 12.4. And I've been harping on it because, the athleticism of this team, the length of this team, feels like they should just be able to produce more. They should be more disruptive. But it's still middle of the pack, actually, 8th in the SEC. I thought they were going to be quite a bit lower than that, but they're middle of the pack. And I think there's certainly room for improvement when it comes to being a little bit more disruptive and generating some turnovers for the Hogs. So interesting stuff there as it pertains to where the Razorbacks stand in the stat category. We'll look at these again before the start of SEC play when everyone's non-conference resume is kind of fully intact. But thought you guys might appreciate getting a look at where things are at right now. Hey, today's episode is presented by Gracie Frizzell of Collier & Associates, our official real estate expert here at Inside Arkansas. Officially licensed in both Arkansas and Oklahoma, Gracie is here to care for your real estate needs. Whether you're looking for investment property, a game day getaway, land investment, or a new home, Gracie is your trusted guide from start to finish. Give her a call or shoot her a text today at 501-690-3868 for questions on all things real estate, or check her out on Instagram at Gracie Frizz. It's Gracie Frizzell of Collier & Associates, the official real estate expert of Inside Arkansas. Okay, real quick, I want to do this fast. For funsies, a quick where are they now segment. And my line of thinking here started because I saw a tweet about Cash Chavis dunking a basketball and scoring 15 against Arkansas State the other day. He's at UT Arlington right now. And I was like, what the? Cash Chavis, that's awesome. He was the vibes coordinator last year, the dancing guy. Loved that kid. And turns out he's doing pretty well for himself at UTA. He's averaging 10 points and 5 assists per game for them right now. How about that, man? Good for Cash Chavis. Golf clap. Well done, my man. Melo Sanchez, y'all remember him? He's at Central Connecticut State right now, who they have beaten Rutgers and they've beaten Boston College already. So are they like a sneaky low major who gets in the tournament? They're a 15 seed and they scare a 2, maybe. But Melo's playing for him, man. He's averaging 8.6 points per game, and he's shooting 41% from three. Golf clap. Shout out to those guys, man. They didn't get talked about enough last year for how much they helped the team when, you know the deal. They didn't have enough guys to practice. Like, you had to have dudes in there helping you, scrimmaging, scout team, all those things. And they embrace those roles. They were great teammates. So I'm happy to see them somewhere and, in places where they can play now, and they're doing well for themselves. It's awesome. Now, the other guys, how much do we care how they're doing? Big Z. I still can't help but to love Big Z. He's playing with his brother now. I don't know. Probably need to change the scenery. I'm not that messed up about it. It's whatever. He's averaging 7.5 points, 5 rebounds, 2.6 blocks in just 18 minutes per game at Illinois. So highly productive for the minutes that he's playing. Shooting at 37% from three. I've got to admit, I watched the game against Tennessee. He's moving better. He's playing more physical. He looks pretty good. I got to give credit where it's due. Boogie Fland does not look good. He's averaging 12.5 points for Florida, but super inefficient, man. He's shooting under 40% from the field, 25% from three. His assists are cut in half from where they were last season. His turnovers are up from where they were last season. Florida is just having a hell of a time in that backcourt. I'm surprised his assists are that low when he's got that front court. He's got like 5 7-footers he can just throw lobs to. It ain't happening. They're struggling over there. I think Boogie's a good player, but how much does he contribute to high-level winning basketball? You know what I mean? I think it's a valid question for him at this point. So, Tremont Mark, whatever, still getting his 10 points a night at Texas, not shooting the three very well at all this year. 15th year of college basketball. We'll see him at some point this season. Layden Blocker, putting up 12 points, 4 assists per game for DePaul. Good for him. Bay Fall, you guys will love this. Classic. He's at Rutgers now. Over the weekend, he actually played 11 minutes against Michigan. 11 minutes, 1 dunk, 3 rebounds, 5 fouls. There you go. A classic Bay Fall stat line. Okay. We might as well join in on the fun here since it's trending. Who has won the divorce between John Calipari and Kentucky? I don't know why this is all of a sudden a debate. The answer is easy here. It's Cal. It's Cal. I'm not saying just because I cover Arkansas and he's Arkansas's coach. I think it's painfully obvious. Cal is the guy at a new school who got that program right back to a Sweet 16. He's got multiple first-round picks on this year's team, and it's a group that's trending red hot here early in the season. He's very clearly happy. He's very clearly rejuvenated. He's beloved by the fan base at Arkansas. He's good to go. He also beat Kentucky at Rupp, so he's got that going for him. Kentucky, on the other hand, they got some massive wins. They got some big wins in year one with their new guy, but they used injuries, which Arkansas also had, and nobody was making excuses for them, but they used that to justify barely finishing 500 in the SEC last year, which would have been punishable by death in Calipari's tenure. If that dude goes 10-8 in the SEC, they lose their damn minds. In fact, when it happened the COVID year, it was the beginning of the end for him. Same energy, vibes here. I'm not feeling it. And then they spent this entire offseason where they flexed spending just historic amounts of money on a bunch of above-average role players who don't like each other and are now ready to run Mark Pope out of town after 9 games because they stink so far. But so, I mean, what are we even talking about here? One team's falling off a cliff at the moment, and one team is turned into a national darling. Can flip on its head in a week, but right now, there's no question about where this is at. And aside from all that, here's what makes this a simple conversation for me. I think everybody can agree that it was time, right, for Cal and Kentucky to go their separate ways. Best for both parties. I don't think there's really any conversation to be had there. But, I mean, a little over a year into this one, and one side is wondering if they made the right decision, and the other knows that it did. Case closed. And for BBN, in this divorce, man, like, y'all got to keep the house and the money, but Cal got to find the happiness again. I hope you get your closure someday, but Cal's winning, man. I don't know what to tell you. Since we're on the topic of divorce, we might as well give a shout out to our partners at Hickey and Hull Law. Divorce cases, they're not always this much of a slam dunk. So let Hickey and Hull provide you with persistent and diligent representation to help guide you through the entire process. They've handled thousands of family law cases and have experienced nearly every scenario that might come up. Hickey and Hull Law have offices across the state of Arkansas in Fayetteville, Fort Smith, Little Rock, and Mena. You can call them today at 479-434-2414. That's 479-434-2414. Or you can check out their website, hickeyandhull.com, or scan the QR code in the top right corner of your screen. It's Hickey and Hull Law. Things are about to get better. Okay. Last segment of the show here today, per request, I just wanted to take a few minutes and kind of explain what some of these things that I reference so often actually are as it pertains to Arkansas's resume. So I'm going to talk about all these things on the metrics and what they mean, why they're important, why they're looked at. If you already know all those things and you want to skip the final segment, well, shame on you. No, it's all good. But I had a few people ask about this, like, what the hell is this? KP who? BP what? Yeah, so yeah, I get it. And we're going to be talking about it so much that I want to make sure everybody has nothing crazy, man, just like a baseline understanding of it. So what's the best way to do this? The NCAA selection committee, they have what they call team sheets, which is kind of a tidy breakdown of every team's resume with all the key metrics that they recognize during the evaluation process. When they're trying to make NCAA tournament selections, seed teams, put them in a bracket, voila. So what I'm going to do is pull up Arkansas's team sheet. We always get these over at warrennolan.com. It's pretty clean. I think it's a good representation of what you're working with here. So the first thing you see on the left-hand side is net, right? It's one of the 7 key metrics on the team sheet. And what that is, it's an evaluation tool. And it sorts resumes based on their results with strength of schedule, game location, offensive and defensive efficiency. And the net uses this quadrant system to place a value on your wins and losses. So quad 1 being the best games, the most difficult games. So you play a top 30 team at home, or you go on the road and play a top 75 team. That's quad 1 type of stuff. And you can see the breakdown for that on the right-hand side of your screen at the top. It goes all the way down to quad 4. So like quad 1 being the Louisville game or Texas Tech, who you're getting ready to play. Quad 4 being like Jackson State. And those are the extremes. And there's middle ground for all of that. The more quad 1 and 2 wins you have, the better. The fewer quad 4 games you play, the better. If you play them, you better beat the absolute hell out of them. And you want to avoid anything beyond a quad 2 loss. Have a good resume. The net is what replaced RPI, if you remember that from back in the day. I say back in the day, it was like 6 years ago or something. They were still using RPI. But from there, you have 2 different types of metrics from there that committees look at. And there's 2 separate categories, results-based and predictive. And so what results-based metrics are, they essentially they judge past performance by taking value on wins and losses based on opponent quality, like how good a team is that you're playing and where you play them. And it builds out a team's resume. So it's what you've done. Predictive metrics that kind of forecast the future. So they look at efficiency on offense and defense. They look at pace and tempo. They look at the strength of your opponents, and it's kind of aiming to show a team's true strength beyond just their wins. I think a way to more simply put it, predictive metrics focus on how you play. It's like your efficiency, and results-based metrics focus on who you beat. And so there are 3 different kinds of results-based metrics that the committee looks at. Wins above bubble is a new one. That one got put on the team sheet last year. And what wins against bubble calculates it's the expected winning percentage for the average bubble team in each game of a team's schedule. And then it subtracts that total from the team's actual number of wins. So the example that they use in the explanation that you can find on this online, if an average bubble team was expected to win 19 games against your schedule, but you won 20, then you would have a +1 wins above bubble rating. So it's the amount of wins you have minus the amount of wins an average bubble team would expect to have against your schedule. Simply put, that's how they calculate that. KPI is kind of the most tricky one for me. It's the Kevin Pauga index, and this is a metric. Basically, what it does is it ranks is the proper term there. Teams' resumes by it assigns a value to each game that they play. So the best possible win you can get is worth a +1, and the worst possible loss is a -1. And a virtual tie, depending on the game, is a 0. So like it's 1 to -1 on the scale. And adjustments are made to each single game, based on all the same things. They're all similar. They just go a different way about getting there. And so the adjustments here are made based on location of the game, the quality of your opponent, and the percentage of the total points scored in the game. And so they assign a value to these games, and that's how they help determine a team's KPI. So by ranking these games, a team's schedule can kind of be sorted from their best win to their worst loss. And then it can be broken out into categories: home games, conference games, everything like that. So it's a little bit more convoluted. And it's the one that I understand, in fairness, the least. And it's also the one that seems to always be low on Arkansas. And you can see that right now. Wins above bubble, Arkansas is at 24. That's really good. In fact, if you look at all the metrics on there, they're all in the top 30 except KPIs at 45. So, and I think the reason being is probably because you probably, well, no, because that would impact wins above bubble. Yeah, I don't know. KPI is a little confusing to me. Strength of records, it's a lot more simple to understand, I think. How difficult was it to get to your win-loss record? For example, LSU right now is 8-1, but it was a cupcake schedule. So you could look at 8-1 and you could just see it at face value and be like, okay, they're good. But you can look at their strength of schedule and how they performed against it and everything and be like, yeah, but actually, it just adds a little bit of context to that win-loss number is what it does. And the way they go about doing it, it calculates the probability that whatever the typical number 25 team in the country would have, would they have the same record or better against that schedule. So that's kind of what they do there. Then you got your predictive-based metrics, and we talk about those a lot more. The closer we get to Selection Sunday, we'll talk a lot more about strength of record and wins above bubble. Last year, you could tell that the selection committee really placed a premium on wins above bubble, and maybe they just valued it a little bit higher than some of the other ones. It was one of the brand new metrics that they put on the team sheet, so it would make sense that they scrutinize it even more than some of the other ones. Now, when we get to the predictive metrics, these are the ones that we talk about all the time. KenPom. And these are all kind of the same thing. Again, they just go a different way about getting there. The KenPom ranking, it's a predictive rating. So it's meant to show how strong a team would be if it played tonight, independent of injuries or whatever other factors. Like it's a mathematical formula. They base it on offensive and defensive efficiency, which is like points allowed or points scored per 100 possessions. So based on how you've performed, you're at a certain spot. And then, so like, for example, they would then look at Arkansas and Kentucky and say, well, if they played tonight, what would this look like? And that's how they go about it. Torvik, very, very similar. This just got added to it's been a thing for a while, but it just got added to the team sheet last year. It wins above bubble. Kind of the same thing. Like it's the same mathematical formula. They use offensive and defensive efficiency. But they also use a game script. So whereas KenPom's kind of looking at, okay, what would this look like if you played tonight, a game that's going to be down the road or whatever? Remember, this is predictive. Torvik, the further along you get, there's a little bit more, what have you done for me lately? I guess is the best way to put it. Because with Torvik, all the games that are played within the most recent 40 days count 100%. And then every day after 40, they degrade by 1% per day until they're 80 days old. When it gets to 80 days old, or you're almost 3 months down the line, basically when you get back to non-conference play, they count 60% towards the total. And so what this does, sometimes you have teams that crush it in non-conference. Think about Oklahoma, for example. They crushed it in non-conference, got some big wins there, and they went 6-12 in the SEC. And they got in the tournament. And people kept looking at it saying, well, every game is just one data point. If you look at the net, this is a quad one win no matter when it happened. If it was in November, even if they lost 6 in a row, 6 out of 7 to end the season. But you think about that and you're like, okay, but it's not November Oklahoma that's getting in the tournament. This is March Oklahoma. It doesn't make sense. And Torvik does a better job of accounting for how a team evolves throughout the course of the year. They still place some value on what you did because you do have to take into account the full body of work, but they put a little bit more importance on what have you done for me lately, because that's more representative of who you are. And I like that. BPI, ESPN's Basketball Power Index, measures team strength as opposed to team accomplishment. So every team's BPI tells basically it's how many points better or worse per game it is than the average Division I team. And so with BPI, there's two pieces to calculate in the BPI. There's a preseason rating, which they had Arkansas super low, 43rd or something, I think it was, and the results of the games as they're played. So basically, the more games are played, that preseason component to it holds less and less weight. Just like KenPom, it's got that preseason bias built in, and it fizzles out the more games you play. Kind of the same idea here with BPI. And then for each game, BPI kind of takes into account, points, possessions, the strength of schedule, where you play, and also the distance that each team had to travel. It takes into account team rest, like how many days off you had compared to who you played. And they even take into account altitude. Like if you go play in the mountains somewhere. So they put a lot of things into this. I think when it comes to your predictive metrics, at the end of the year, I think KenPom is the gold standard. Torvik, I think, is better throughout the year from start to finish. And if I'm being honest with you, Torvik, by the way, is T rank. If you see that on the sheet, and BPI just sucks all around. It's probably the best way that I can describe it. So, at any rate, there you go. I hope that helped a little bit. I know it's a lot of words and math and stuff like that. That's why I saved it for the end in case some people are like, "Hey, missed me with the algebra lesson, Kurt." But if you look at it, you can kind of start to make a little bit of sense of it. And these are things that we're going to be looking at because we want to know, like, if we get to a certain point this season, I mean, heaven forbid we're doing a thing where we're like, oh, is Arkansas on the bubble? Are they in? Are they out? What does this look like? Can we just not do that this year, please, for the love of God? But we might be looking at, seed line stuff and comparing Arkansas's resume to Louisville's to see who should be a 3 seed or whatever. And we'll be looking at all these different things. And you'll want to know, well, why is Arkansas lower than this than them? And well, if we got a baseline understanding of it, we can explain it a little bit better. So at any rate, there you have it. Request granted. And I am also out of here for now. But do, as always, appreciate everybody for tuning in and rocking with us. Subscribe to the Inside Arkansas YouTube channel if you haven't done so already. Find us wherever you find your podcast. We can be found on Apple, Spotify, anywhere that you listen. And I'll see you guys bright and early tomorrow morning. It's been Curtis Wilkerson with Inside Arkansas and the Pod Palace. Have a good rest of your day, and we'll see you next time.